everybody, welcome back to Shutter Magazine. I'm Dustin Lucas, and today I'm going to take you through a Lightroom Creative Cloud workflow series. Today is going to be part one with storage and file management. So let's go in and look at a few storage solutions that I highlighted in the article, and we'll start there. So I pulled up a few in my browser, and one that I highlighted was the Drobo brand, the 5D. And this hard drive enclosure, or sort of box for your computer, what it's going to allow you to do is to put multiple hard drives, 3.5 inch like desktop computer hard drives into this system. And what it's going to allow you to do is create RAID backup systems where it's using multiple drives at a time. As I talked about in the article, there's options like RAID 0, RAID 1, RAID 3, RAID 5, RAID 6, and different storage solutions for what you're doing. What I have on my computer for you are drives that is sort of set up for working hard drive, one that I'm working directly off of. That's one I'm going to be working with in Lightroom, accessing the raw files. I also have a sort of initial or a secondary backup hard drive that I'm going to do just to sort of save all the raws, put it maybe in an offsite location, just so I have sort of my first step in archiving for now. And then I have this other drive, my Canon drive, which is going to have all of the RAWs from the memory cards purged from it directly just to that Canon drive, where I've taken all of the memory card data and put it directly onto that. So what I have here set up for you with the Drobo, I also have the Pegasus hard drive, and also G-RAID is a great brand as well. What these are perfectly good drives, whether you're working with doing a working drive or just a backup. I like to use RAID 0 for a working drive, which is what you can use. You can use your disk utility to actually set that up in your different systems. So here what you're seeing is I have my working drive, the Canon drive, as well as the backup. And I have the ability to set up RAID systems right in disk utility. You have the option to do a mirrored RAID set, which is going to be the option to like a RAID 0. You also have the striped RAID, which is going to be like a RAID 1. And what the RAID 1 is going to allow you to do is it's going to record on both drives at the same time. A RAID 0 is going to allow you to actually utilize both the drives, and you're going to get more capacity, and you're also going to get twice the performance for the reading and write speed. And why that's important for a working drive is because I'm going to be continually writing and reading data from that in Lightroom. So you want to get as much performance as you can. Another option as well is using Thunderbolt or using USB 3.0 to increase your speed as well. Today I'm using USB 2.0. I have a little bit older of a computer, so my performance is down a little bit. I also have single hard drive, external drive, so I'm sort of losing the performance of RAID, but it's something you definitely want to start thinking about as a professional photographer and as you're working with your business, these different solutions out there for storage to increase your performance. So let's jump into Lightroom. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a catalog for this client. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to choose a different catalog, and I'm going to create a new one. Let's see here. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my catalog, and we'll start ingesting all of this data into the catalog. So I'm going to go to import. We'll go ahead and hit cancel on the Lightroom mobile. I don't need to be logged in for now. So here we are. We're at the import screen, and as you noticed in the article, I didn't go over the specific options for importing. That's something I think I'm going to tackle a little more with catalog management and different catalogs and what these different options are for. But for the purpose of this tutorial, let's go with the copy option. And what we're going to do is it's going to give us the option to save our data directly to a backup. So I'm going to go ahead and choose my backup drive, choose my 2015 folder, weddings, and as you notice I have the short wedding in here. And I'm going to go ahead and hit choose. And what it's also going to allow me to do is to choose a primary destination. And that's where it's going to sort of save directly onto my working drive. So what I want to do is I want to pull down that drive, specifically working drive. I'm pulling down 2015. I'm dropping down weddings, and I have the short wedding. So what I've now created is a location for my backup as well as a location for the working drive or my primary destination. I also on the left-hand side here, I have some options for where I'm grabbing the source files from. So what I would choose is the Canon and drop down and choose the this top folder. And what you're going to see is it's going to start to load all 5,200 of my raw files here. And so what it's actually going to do with this copy option is it's going to save all of this data and copy it to the backup drive as well as the destination drive. For these purposes and for this tutorial and going through file management, I don't want to spend those hours and load those in. What we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just do add for now. So that way we can get into Lightroom and look at sort of some file management. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add this Canon file specifically to this catalog. I'm going to have it keep don't import suspected duplicates. For file handling for now, I'm going to do minimum. I don't want to build any previews because I'm not doing any editing. Like I said, we'll get into that when I get into the catalog management as well as the processing of images, and that's going to be in part 2 and part 3 of this workflow series. But for now, perfect place to be in is just leaving it at minimal, so it's doing the least amount of work while importing the data. I'm going to leave build smart previews unchecked. I don't need smart previews at this point. I can keep don't import duplicate suspected duplicates. That's fine for now. As you'll notice as well as as I've highlighted in previous articles with the add collection, I can start to create quick collections automatically. I don't really want to get into that for this tutorial, so what we'll do is we'll leave that unchecked. I don't have any developed presets that I want to apply or any keywords or metadata for these images, so I'm just going to go ahead and hit import at this point. And what it's doing is it's going to load all of these images directly into Lightroom, and as soon as it's done, then we're going to continue with the file management. Alright guys, now that I've had all the raw files imported into my catalog, what I'm going to start doing is creating folders within this working drive and start to create folders where I can move these files into and allow Lightroom to control all of my file management. So what you want to do is with the specific folder where all the raws are selected, what we're going to start doing is creating subfolders. So I'm going to click on this option to add a subfolder. You also have this option here to do add folder, which is going to allow you to add a specific folder into Lightroom as well. If we click on that, what it's going to do is it's going to ask for us to choose a specific location. I can create a new folder here and choose short wedding. And hit create, and I'm going to hit choose. And what it's going to do is it's going to drop a new folder in here. So what I can do now is by clicking on this folder, I have the option of adding subfolders. So I can create an originals folder. And it's going to start to give me subfolders and start to create a management system within Lightroom. I'm going to add another subfolder, and I'll name it JPEG export. We'll do black and white. Let's see here. Signature. And so now this folder is virtually empty, but what it's done is it's created these folders in my Finder file system. So if I go to Canon, go to the DCIM, you notice that these folders are created. So it's doing all the management in Lightroom, but it's also reflecting in specifically in Finder. And the reason why using Lightroom to manage these folders is that way that the catalog is making all the decisions, and then Finder will follow. If you do it the other way around, it starts to mess up and confuse the catalog, and I'll show you in just a second how that happens. So what I want to start to do is in this EOS 1D folder, I'm going to start to create some subfolders, and I'm going to start breaking up the day. I'm going to do some details. And let's see, creatives. Start breaking up the day by a specific section. Let's see, creative portraits. and I can actually start taking these files and moving them into the specific folders. So what I'm going to do is just select a handful of images, um, just in this section here. And I'm actually going to take those and move them, clicking and dragging them right into my details folder. And what that's going to do is it's going to ask me if I want to move them on the disk. You have the option to choose don't show again, but I always like to have this as sort of a double check system to make sure I actually want to move these files. So what I'm going to do is click move, and what it's actually going to do is it's going to move those files into the specific folder. And if we go back to Finder, you're going to notice that if we scroll all the way down here at the bottom, let's see, it's actually find where that specific folder was created. All the way down here at the bottom. So as you see, it starts to create these subfolders where it's actually moving these files into it. Once we get the files moved or rename them, if we needed to rename this folder so it would pop up at the top, we could do the underscores, which might actually help us a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and do that just for now. I'm going to go ahead and click X off that. And so what we can actually do is right click on it, rename it at any point, and we can just do, for now we can do hashtag details, and we can do rename as well on the creative portraits. So that way it should pop up to the top in our Finder window. And if it doesn't, then we might just need to use underscores. But just for now, if I were to change this and say, for instance, put an underscore in it there and changing that, what it's going to do is it's automatically going to lose that file. And now I have to relink this file, and I'm getting all my exclamation points. And as you'll notice, it's going to show missing here in this section, as well as if I go to Library, Previews, Build Standard Size Previews, it's going to tell me that I'm missing files. So what we have to do is by right-clicking on that folder, we have to find it. In that specific folder that we renamed that popped up here at the top, it can be changed, but now it's been changed to underscore details. So as you see, if you change things in Finder, it starts to mess up the Lightroom catalog, and you're starting to create your different options here. So what I'm going to do is, let's say, just for the sake of how many files it is, there's quite a bit. I'm just going to grab all of these files here, and I'm going to move them into this specific originals folder down here. So I'm going to grab these files and drop them into the original. It's going to ask me to move them, and what you're going to notice is since some of those files were in the details, it's actually moving them out of that folder, and it's going to move them into the originals folder. Biggest difference between collections here and folders are in the folders it's only going to save in one location, so it's actually going to move the files out and only keep one copy. What collections allows you to do, and I'll follow that up more with catalog management, is the collections are going to allow you to create multiple collections with the same image, but it's just groupings, virtual groupings, versus under the folders option, it's actually moving the files and it's organizing them, organizing the raws and their physical locations. So that's two big differences between the source folders and the collections. But you can go through and you can keep dragging the files, putting them into specific folders that you want. I'll leave the black and white JPEG export. Those folders I just sort of create to export into, and we'll get into that in sort of part 4, which would be more of the output methods. But this sort of gives you some different options on how to sort of create these different file management solutions right in Lightroom. And what's great is that that Finder is going to follow suit, and all of these files are going to show up. They're going to start moving, and they're going to be moving within Finder without you having to grab the files, moving them around. It's a little bit more disorganized to use Finder than it is to use the catalog where you're putting all the images into, and then you can start moving the files within Lightroom. So that way everything stays linked together. But for this part 1, that's sort of just getting into the file management. Well, the next part's going to be catalog management, where I'm going to talk more about creating a master catalog for your clients, or creating catalogs per specific client. I'm also going to get into smart preview catalogs and different options for building previews and getting your all of your images ready to starting to be processed as well. So if you guys have any questions, definitely send them in on the Behind the Shutter blog. But that's all I have for you guys today, and we'll see you next time.